Nothing changes.
Hey, what's up, Rockstars? Welcome into the RockstarFlipper YouTube channel. And the other day I did an interview on my good friend Star's YouTube channel, Flipping Hippos. I'll link the interview down below, go check it out. But one of the questions she asked me was, what are my favorite items and my least favorite items to sell on eBay or Amazon or to resell in general? And of course, you guys may or may not know it, probably my favorite item and the item I've made the most money on in my entire life. I've sold tens of thousands of video games. Now, I love video games, don't get me wrong. I'm a typical, American 25 to 35-year-old that loves games. I don't get to play video games as much as I would like to because I do work and run this business a lot. There's very little time. So the very small amount of time that I get to play video games typically is at night when I'm done all the work, I'm sitting in bed and I'm on my phone or my iPad. That's the extent of my video game playing. Every once in a while I'll jump on the PS4, but not typically. Netflix is playing. So if we think back to all of the wonderful games that were around when I was growing up, I was born in '85, so you're talking the '90s up to the 2000s when I was 5, 6, 7 on up to 16, 17 years old. That was the prime time treasure age of video games. Nintendo, Super Nintendo came out in the '80s. The 90s ushered in Sega Genesis, and then we finally came around to like PlayStation 1 and through all that. And I thought it would be awesome to show you guys some of the items that I have sold, video games, classic titles, new age titles, and some of the cool accessories that are really profitable on eBay and Amazon. So I'm gonna show you some of the top selling items, game titles, accessories, systems, just a mix of all the video gaming world that I have bought and sold, which is a little bit of everything. You can find them at thrift stores, you can find them at estate sales, garage sales, yard sales. Pawn shops are an amazing place. It's where I used to source a ton of my stuff. The corporate stores will have your systems, your games. Mom and pop pawn shops will have some of the oddest, oldest stuff. I found a Sega Genesis with the old Game Genies in it. I found the Power Glove from Nintendo. I found a 3DO. I found all that stuff at mom and pop pawn shops, so always keep an eye out for those. But without further ado, let's go over to my computer and let's check out some of the coolest, most profitable video game items to sell on eBay and Amazon to make some profits. And hopefully you guys keep an eye out for this stuff and you can find some of these items. If you want some more to add to these video games, some additional electronics, some shoes, some clothes, some any kind of category, jeans, ties, everything, I'll also link down below my bundle of all of my ebooks and guides that include these video games and systems and things that you should be looking for to resell. Everything, all 10 guides bundled together, $25. You can't beat it, and you will pay for it on any item that you flip. I assure you, 2 items at worst case, and you will thank me later. You own these guides forever, for life. They will come into your email and you will have them. So enjoy them. Again, $25, I'll link it below. You get all 10 of them. Electronics, shoes, clothes, antiques, vintage, collectibles, toys. Everything is included in this. It's over 625 items. So let's jump over to my computer. Let's check out these cool video games and accessories, and I will see you guys there. Okay, I'm gonna show you some of my favorite video games and some of the most profitable ones and what to look for and what you should be grabbing at yard sales, garage sales, estate sales, Craigslist, wherever you can find these, really, flea markets too. Final Fantasy 3, Final Fantasy series is one of the greatest series ever made for any video game system ever. I enjoy Final Fantasy 7, voted one of the best video games of all time. The original Final Fantasy 3 is one of the most popular ones. The original Final Fantasy for Nintendo also really well made because it was the first one, and at its time it was amazing. So always look for Final Fantasy, look up the prices. They fluctuate a lot from year to year. Also, games like this, like the fantasy genres, are always popular. Mystic Quest is another one that's really good. As we scroll down Final Fantasy 3, we see that most of them, this is a box only for $14, most of these should range in about the mid-30s. Really, 30 would be about the least I would take for it. This is a reproduction someone sold for 16. Do not sell reproductions. They will hammer you over it. Here's one that sold for 60, and it actually has the case on it. Here's a Final Fantasy 6-in-1 cartridge that sold for 30. A reproduction again. Here's one, the complete box set of it with the maps and everything. Somebody got 119. Again, this was a collector that paid 119, I guarantee it. Here's one that sold for $24. It was listed as brand new. It's not brand new, from Japan. That's why it sold for that. But here's an actual one, authentic, tested, 60. Here's one for 49 plus 4, so like $53. So you can see this game is pretty expensive. If it's in the box, it's 2 to 3 times the price. Out of the box, at least $30 to $40. Really, I think the last one I sold, I may have gotten like 45 or 50 out of. So Final Fantasy, definitely one of those games. The second one is Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest 6 was made for the Nintendo DS. It's a newer one, but it got to be really expensive. This game used is easily worth, in the neighborhood of $30, $40. If you have the box and everything brand new, you can get 50, 60 and up for it. The original Dragon Quest games back at PS2 times, they're $20, $30 games. These are all things you might spot at a yard sale for $2 or $3, and boom, you scored. So always look for those RPGs, those fantasy games, anything like that. Always worth money, at least most of them. Okay, Pokemon video games are probably the most popular video games. Now, a huge warning for Pokemon games. They are heavily faked, be it Game Boy Advance, Game Boys, or the Nintendo DS and 3DS. These cartridges are faked easily. All the scammers have to do is create the game on a blank cartridge and stick a sticker on it, and it's done. So I do recommend testing them if you can. If you can't, be very careful where you're buying them from. Buying them off a kid at a yard sale, probably good. Buying them off of some dude out of the trunk of a Craigslist meetup may not be such a good idea. So just use common sense. I've never been burned. I have bought one fake one. It still worked. It was the game, but it just was fake, and there are ways to tell. You can Google it. I'll try to link some down in the description below. Heart Gold for the Nintendo DS was a very, very expensive game. It's currently worth about $20, $25. There are some other pricing on it. If you get the original box, as always, worth a lot. The Platinums, the Diamonds, the Pearls can be worth $15 to $20 a piece. So always look for Pokemon. Expect the cheapest you'll get out of any Pokemon game just about is 15 or 20. Most of them are going to be 20 to 30, 30 to 40. The Fire Reds, the Greens, the Leafs, those are all $30 plus games. So just keep an eye out for, those games. All right, number 4 on the list is Battletoad Double Dragons Ultimate Team, which is a great game. It's only worth about $30, $28, $30. But this shows us that when multiple video game characters team up, which I'm going to show you in the next one as well, they're usually a game that will hold value. And so $30 games, Battletoads and Double Dragons. On the original Nintendo, they're worth $70 and up. The Super NES game is worth about $30. The Genesis game, I believe, is worth about $30. These NES games are worth $70, $80. There's a Sega one for, like $14. There's a Sega Genesis in the box for almost $40. There's the Game Boy edition of it for $32. There is the Nintendo NES version of it for $75. Here's another Super NES at $25, a Sega at almost $20. So you guys can see that team-up games are worth money too. Same goes for Sonic and Knuckles. Now, Sonic and Knuckles for the Sega Genesis, with this entire clip thing here, should be about a $20 thing. Here's one for $18, $19 all in. Here's one for $27. Here's a set with Sonic 2 for $22. There's one in the box for $25, which seems a little cheap. $18. Here's one for about $12 all in. Here's one for $19 with Sonic 2. Here's one for $19, $22. It's about a $20 item, give or take. If you pair it up, you can get a little more, $27. So Sonic and Knuckles was not as good as some of these, but it's still a team up, and they did good. Okay. Expensive NES rare games. DuckTales, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers is a very expensive one. Rescue Rangers 2. This is a $500, $300, $400 game depending on the condition and what you have with it. This one here was an 8.5. This one was brand new, sealed, and rated. That's why it sold for $3,000, but mostly it's going to be down here in the hundreds of dollars. It's a phenomenal game. There's also one called Little Samson. That's a couple $100 game. If you get the Playboy game from Nintendo, that's a few $100s. The Bubble game is a few $100s. The Flintstones game is worth hundreds of dollars, if not thousands, if you can find. There's 2 of them. There's one that's worth a lot. So some of these really rare, really rare games can be worth a lot of money, especially if you get the sleeves. If you can get these original Nintendo sleeves, you can sell those too. All right, moving on. Number 7, Game Genie and any kind of accessories these are the old school modifications for video games. You guys remember Game Genie was like cheating, right? So they're not worth a ton, but they sell instantly. Some of them can be okay. These are all like $10, but it's just rare. It's cool. It's collectible. The Game Genie book is worth more than the actual Game Genie in some cases. If you have it with the book, here's one with the code book for $28. Here's one for $14. You can see that you could do okay on them if you could find them at a yard sale for a couple bucks. All right, PlayStation 4, new age systems. PlayStation 4, of course, the newest PlayStation that they've made. It's been out for at least 7 or 8 years. I think it came out in like 2010 or 2011. I'd have to look that up. I know I've had my current PlayStation since I've lived in my house, which I have owned for almost 6 years. So I had my PlayStation when we moved. So that means it's at least 7 years old. Somebody might be able to comment what year PS4 came out. I have a 500 gig, but you guys can see some of these prices, $200 to $250, depending on what you have. The first one was a 1 terabit for $203.50. Here's a 1 terabit limited edition blue for $243. I have the white edition. I don't know if it's worth anymore. Here's the white one that I have, the white Destiny special edition, $200. So you can find one at a garage sale. Somebody wants to sell for $100. Maybe you get one off Craigslist for $100, $120. Flip it for $220 and make some money. Here's a Dragon Quest Heroes. Here's another one that's sold for, $205 with the controllers. If you can bundle stuff with it, you can get more money. Absolutely good to buy new age systems. Just keep an eye on the prices. The old rare systems. This is a Game Boy Micro. Most people have probably never even heard of this, but these are worth over $120, $140 for almost all the Game Boy Micros. I owned one of these way back in the day. Look, a broken one sold for $55. That's the other thing with video game systems. You can buy broken ones. This gold 20th edition one sold for $177 all in. Another one, little camo looking one, $109 all in. Here's just a plain Jane one, broken, $75. Here's a gold one with Super Mario 3 for $216 all in. These are expensive. Look for Game Boy Micros. Old Game Boys are expensive, period, but this is probably the highest end one. Finally, rare systems like this Nintendo 64 Pokemon edition with the giant Pokemon. Look, he's on there. This is probably, with the games in the system, this one sold for $213, but if we find a normal one, it's about $100 for the system with nothing else. Console only, they sold for $100. Here's some futuristic looking ones. Here's one with a game and 2 controllers. They got $175 all in. Here's the red one, a little rare, I think, $135. There's one in the box for $315, which is crazy. There's another Japanese one, $230. So rare things. Again, it's Pokemon, so of course. Here's one that sold for $230 all in, $231. Here's one that sold for $185 all in. So these things are pretty rare and expensive. I've sold 2 of these in my life. One I bought for like $50 and sold for $200, and one I bought for a lot. I paid like $110 and sold it for like $200 as well. So I've done okay on these. I always buy them. I always flip them. They're rare. They're hard to find. And but if you do find them, I found them at flea markets where somebody was like, "Give me 150," and I'm like, "110," and they're like, "No," and I'm like, "110, take it or leave it." And they're like, "Okay, I paid $50 for it. I'll take the 110," and then I flip it for 200. So it's not bad. Video game systems sell really fast. Games sell, so don't be worried about spending a little money. They will move. They will sell. And anything you've just seen here on eBay, you can sell it on Amazon and add at least $5, $10, $20, $30 for the higher end stuff to the prices. I would imagine these are like $250 on Amazon. In fact, we can go ahead and just look. Most of this should be ungated. Careful on the Pokemon stuff. But if we do a Nintendo 64 Pokemon console, let's see. So the cheapest one, the Pikachu edition, the cheapest one right now is $175, and it's discolored from Sun or Age. It's called acceptable, but I wouldn't even call that acceptable. One matching controller, but it's $175. So the next one is $180, acceptable with discoloration. Here's one for $198, $199 from Florida, and then the next one is over $200. So it's pretty close on these. Some of them, none of these are really... this one's fulfillment by Amazon Prime. Couple Prime ones. So there are some down here, but you can see some of these prices sometimes get a little higher. So pay attention. eBay or Amazon, you can cross post them, and I guarantee you, if you're doing FBM, you'll sell them within days at the most in most video game and system cases. The non-popular games, the $10, $12 games, sometimes they sit, but otherwise, a great market to be in. So I hope you guys enjoy that. I'll put together a list of some of the 50 best video game items to buy. In the meantime, enjoy this video, hit the like button, and make sure you're subscribed, because I'm going to keep coming out as promised all week and weekend with some of the best items to buy and sell for good profits. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time.